Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Duck Talk. This time, sadly, without any footage, I think, because there are certain issues with my render program and my PC. It seems like the PC is struggling with the new graphic cards. Don't ask me why. The video about the 18 kills in the Panzer IV took me literally 12 hours to render. Not a single video, but so many tries. I actually recorded the video multiple times. It seems something is out of control. I have no idea. So yeah. The next thing is the Duck Talk number 6. There is much to talk about, and I wanted to make a little rant about things that are wrong in ground forces, but I need to do a bit more than that, as I as I wrote the script, so to say, with the raw points what I want to talk about. A new important message on the War Thunder forums popped up by Stoner, which is a community manager from the English forum, I guess. And there are certain planned changes to battle ratings, and I will begin with planned changes for aircraft in realistic. And the P-51D5 gets lowered by 0.3, like the Spitfire FMK-16. Then we will see a slight increase of the KA-61-1 high from 4.7 to 5. Both MiG-9 variants, the MiG-9 and the MiG-9 late, get reduced from 8 to 7, which is a good and necessary change. Maybe it brings a bit life back into realistic battle for those aircraft. Then the F-80C also gets reduced from 8.0 to 7.0. The Key 84 Co gets increased from 4.3 to 4.7. Not sure what, but that's a weird change. The Horton 229 V3 gets a battle rating reduction from 7.0 to 6.7, and I have no idea why. Sorry about that in the background. Then the Attacker FB1 also gets a battle rating reduction of 8.0 to 7.0. I think this brings a bit more life back into the British line, I guess. Then there are numerous other changes. All the P-38s get a battle rating reduction of 0.3. For example, the N1K1JA gets a relatively big increase from 5 to 5.7. Nobody was really surprised that this will happen, and that's the most funny change at all. The TU4 gets a battle rating increase from 7 to 8.0. Maybe this will bring back some sort of balance, I guess. We will see. Now for ground forces, there are not that many changes. The T-34-57 gets a battle rating reduction in arcade, and I'm purely reading out arcade changes here, as there are just arcade changes visible. From 4.3 to 4.0, the Panther F, both in realistic and arcade, gets a reduction from 6.3 to 6.0. The Dicke Max gets a battle rating increase from 4.3 to 4.7. The Sture Emil alike from 6.0 to 6.3. The Yak Tiger, unsurprisingly, it had to happen at some point, gets a battle rating increase from 7.0 to 7.3. The Walker Bulldog gets a battle rating reduction from 6.3 to 6.0, not sure why. And also the Tortoise gets a battle rating increase from 6.3 to 6.7. So, yeah, there was actually just one little buff to one of the T-34s, and a high tier, with the exception of the Yak Tiger, wasn't really touched. And I'm quite disappointed about that, but we will see. Yeah, so that were the changes at first. And then there is this little rant about what I think has to change within ground forces, particular arcade. Those are changes that, for me personally, are not that difficult to implement, but they're super annoying that they are there. First of all, yeah, okay, this is a big topic, the imbalance at tier 5. Okay, unsurprisingly, we have Russian stock buyers, at least, any Russian tank can destroy any other nation's tank from the front, nearly with certain exceptions, with the stock shell. The Germans just have the Leopard 1 and just forget about the Jagdpanzer 4-5. Maybe the Raketenjagdpanzer is an option. I haven't tried it out yet. But the Maus is really also no real threat for all other high tier tanks, because its frontal turret armor is just so bad. Maybe I will do a specific video on that. The Americans also lack heavies. While I love the M103 because of its history, and it is really a good tank in my opinion, it's just the one. And all previous heavy tanks are not very competitive due to their battle rating, like the T-32. It's a good tank, but 7.3 is, in my opinion, too high. And the Super Pershing, forget about this thing. I guess there is not too much to complain about the British, as it is the newest tank tree, and they also have, in my opinion, decent tanks. But the tank tree is subject to change, in my opinion. There is plenty of room to fill in. I don't know which tanks exactly, but the principle. Then one big topic, one very annoying topic that can be easily fixed, in my opinion, are planes in arcade mode. Now, while I certainly see the point that there have to be planes, the implementation, in my opinion, is not done very well. Well, there was a change to bombers, and it was really necessary with the bomb delay. It really pulled certain tooth out of the bombers, so to speak, and now tanks have at least a chance to get out of the way of single bombs. And the bomb nerf for arcade bombers in arcade ground forces is okayish, because it can't be that you can wipe out up to 10 tanks with one bombing run, as I did when planes were firstly introduced. I just feasted on enemy tanks. With my experience as a bomber pilot in arcade, it was just too easy. And nobody drives a AAA tank, or not enough. And when they drive, they actually hunt tanks instead of shooting down planes. That's a problem of teams. But teams are, a problem you never can solve in a free-to-play game. But the real problems are the fighter bombers, such as the Focke-Wulfs with the rockets, the P-47 with the rockets, the IL-2s with the rockets. It doesn't matter in which kind of tank you are, rockets will blow you up regardless of your armor. I was destroyed in the Maus, I was destroyed in the T-95, I was destroyed in Russian tanks, I was destroyed in British tanks. It doesn't matter. And it's just that how it goes. You have no warning, you have no real option of defending yourself, and it's really not that rewarding to get into a AAA vehicle itself. So a solution for the real problem with fighter bombers is this: it's not that you can get destroyed by rockets, but it's that you always get destroyed by rockets, at least in my opinion. It's a rare event when you survive a rocket attack, and then it's mostly down to the pilots being rather incompetent. And it also has to do with the implementation of the sounds. Okay, so you're there, tunnel visioning at one tank. You have a good look at the map. You see there is nobody on the flanks. Maybe you are flanking, and suddenly you just explode, And 2 seconds later, then you hear the swoosh of the rockets, and you see that this guy just suicided with his plane into your tank to make sure the rockets hit. And I think a very simple, easy, and understandable solution would be that we have a fuse delay for rockets based on distance. So you must shoot the rockets at 300 meters. If you shoot them below, they will not trigger, or they will ram themselves into the ground and explode there. Okay. Yeah, and this is a problem in realistic, as tactical flanking, for example, on Poland or Eastern Europe, it gets hardly suppressed by those fighters. I mean, yeah, it's a help for the team if you take out somebody that is flanking, but it really spoils the fun. It really suppresses the tactical thinking. Then the next thing is that certain basic mechanics just don't work or are strangely implemented. For just giving you the word overmatch. Yeah, I mean, they have brought a thing. They have brought a dev block where they said that they change it. It hasn't changed too much. Then, yeah, with the overmatch also there are those shots. When somebody is angling and he shoots his track, the shot goes through the track and enters the tank, and sometimes it doesn't even interact with the side armor itself. It passes right through, despite Gaijin having claimed to have solved this problem. I don't know, maybe the kill cam looks different, but in my experience, certain shots that I received or that I took shouldn't have killed the enemy tank or my tank. Then what about spaced armor versus heat? The biggest victim is the super Pershing. All right, it just doesn't work. Or also, I don't know, how does this additional armor work? Is this overmatch mechanic like that the armor doesn't have any drawbacks on the shells? You know, so that makes the super Pershing a tank that is not useful at all, because its armor is just additional weight with, you know, real protection benefit. Then of course the collision model of tanks, as you could see in the Panzer IV video, that you are stuck together with tanks, and there is space between, there's air between, you even don't touch it, yet you interact, and it is super annoying. Gaijin has to fix it. Yeah, and it's really super frustrating, really. Then what about the spotting system lately? I feel like in World of Tanks, what happened? Invisible tanks. And you know, with all my experience, it has changed for the worse. I don't like this. It has played better before in arcade, and in realistic, they said that they will make a new, that they have to rewrite the code and have to make server-based spotting system. That cries, that sounds like World of Tanks to me, you know, and I think that's utter bullshit. Please don't do it, Gaijin. Then what about the maps? First of all, the map design is a bit odd in certain cases. Now there are maps that are really good for arcade play style, like Ice River. I love this map, okay? But Volokolamsk, I think it's a big pile of shit. Likewise, Frozen Pass Mountain. I think the idea of the map is great, but it's executed not very well. And there is just so much to talk about. I could talk hours upon hours. But also the map design and physics don't interact too much. For example, on the Stalingrad winter map for tanks, when you spawn on the southern side and you have to go to the east, you know, near the Volga, how do you get there? There's so much rubble and stuff in your way. You don't have clear ways. While I don't like World of Tanks, I have to say that the map design itself is more beneficial for arcade playstyle, and I'm just talking here about playstyle, if otherwise I say so. Then the driving in tanks is just not fun, really. When you are in cities like on Eastern Europe, what does what what are those trenches good for? They are utter shit, so to speak. Really, I don't like them at all. Um, then yeah, the trenches or the bridge on Ash River, when you start from, I guess, the south, the bridge is destroyed. Good design, but you come a bit too close to it, and you're done. Like on Eastern Europe with the riverside, tracks are made to get out of the situations. Yet without help from your teams, you can't get out once you are just with one wheel trapped in there. It's just not fun. Then we have the problem of one-sided maps and the map rotation. I get the bad maps or maps that I don't like way too often, or when, for example, I get into a match, okay, and I see there's nothing to gain for me because I don't have tanks and the map is just not good. I deliberately rush in, in a suicidal mode, maybe cap for my team, then get destroyed and then leave the match. Guess what the next map is? The same again. That's just not fun. I don't know how random it is, but certain maps I actually don't see anymore. Hürtgen Forest became relatively rare for me. Ash River does have a good rotation. For me personally, I would love to see it more often, but it's okay. But all those Russian winter maps, they are coming way too often. I despise those maps, regardless of the tank I drive, because they're not really fun to play for me. And it has nothing to do that are specifically Russian or specifically winter maps, but the design of the maps is just, I don't like it. It's just too artificial, and it's not good for an artificial map, right? Then specifically for arcade, again we have sometimes similar problems to arcade planes that we now get more and more in arcade tanks, and it has to do that the arcade mode gets there are implementations that take away the arcade fun. I play arcade for a specific reason, and that has to do with having fast patient battles, and in and out and a decent reward and whatever. But what was this pilot knockout for when you pull too many Gs in arcade? It's okay in realistic, although it's even not there pretty or very well executed. And yeah, the same for tanks. Like when you extinguish a fire, your crew is totally, stunned. Does it really take the entirety of 5 crew members for everybody to have his hands on one fire extinguisher? When the driver, how can the driver extinguish, engine block fire? Kind of unrealistic, to be honest. When the commander says, "Okay, I extinguish the driver, you drive into cover," yet or I was often, blown up when I waited until a shot gets him. I extinguished the fire, and while the fire got extinguished, 1 or 2 seconds after that, I blew up because my tank burned down, despite fire extinguishing being initiated. I don't know how realistic that is, but it's so shit for playstyle. And Gaijin has sacrificed so many reality aspects for gameplay. I don't know why they leave this shit in there. Or for example, when the loader gets taken out, you have to do the entirety of the reload again. And that's just stupid, because if the loader dies, just when he has to push the shell a little bit more into the breach until the reload is completely finished, he dies, and while falling to the ground, he rips out the shell and the shell flies back into the ammo rack into safe stowage. How unrealistic is that? I mean, come on. It's just annoying, and also the repair times are way too long. I mean, yeah, when we had the closed beta of tanks, or even in the early stages of open beta, I guess, I had sometimes repair times of 45 minutes. It's realistic, yes, but not in an arcade mode. And even for especially for armored vehicles that rely on their armor, so you have to expect them to get hit. You have longer reload times than, for example, sometimes in medium tanks, which makes not that much sense. If you have different repair times at all, benefit those vehicles that have a lot of drawbacks in the first place. It isn't fun to have a 40-second repair time for the tracks on a T95 with a good crew. It's just not fun when 1 out of 4 tracks is damaged, and you have 2 tracks in the T95, for example. It's a unique vehicle in this respect. And what the hell, then yeah, this with the crew is just a very unforgiving playstyle. Then again, it before those implementations were made, it played so much more fluently. It was just so much better in arcade. I don't care about realistic, you can implement any realistic stuff you want, and it actually makes a bit more sense in realistic. But also, how about the crew? You know, we had this last man standing thing in realistic. It didn't work out. Players complained about it, as far as I know. And then there was this medipack, which should regain a crew member, which was in principle a good idea, but also then the community complained about it. I didn't. I was actually looking forward to it, to try it out, okay? Because it was not an instant bring back. It took a bit of time. Yes, in some respect it's unrealistic, but for arcade it's fine. Or what is so difficult about getting reinforcements for your tank when you are in a cap circle? You can repair your tank without a repair kit. That's fine. You can resupply your ammunition. That's fine. But just imagine it in reality. For instance, that fun. Okay, we can supply you with ammunition. We can supply you with new engines within, under a minute. But your dead crew members better stay in the tank. What? I mean, yes, it would be a bit game breaking for certain tanks if you just could refill your crew like ammunition. But what is so difficult about implementing it for a one-time event where you can press it, not as a researchable upgrade, but you drive into the cap circle and you have once per match, once per tank, the option to get back 1, maybe 2 crew members. What is so game-breaking about it? I mean, yes, it benefits the team with a cap circle, but what about, even making it possible in the spawn area? And then the next thing regarding the spawn area. Why is it so difficult to, make it a proper event for the player spawning in? Because it's so frustrating to spawn in your vehicle and then drive, and suddenly a mouse spawns in front of you and it doesn't move for the next, 10 seconds. That's super annoying. Make a very specific order, like 16 places in the spawn area where tanks spawn. Tanks spawning into each other is just so ridiculous. I mean, yes, stuff has improved since the closed beta, where tanks spawned upside down or, underneath the map, or, upon a stone where they just could go off the rock by rolling over, and then they were useless before the time of the tow cable, actually. Then we have this also with trees, okay? It's super annoying when you knock them over and deroot them. You rip them out by driving over them, and then they are glued to your tank again. And it's so stupid. Why just not like in the early days? Just knock them over and drive over, and that's it. Why? Why was this implementation there? It's likewise with a destructible environment. I think it took a long time for them to implement it into the game, and it looks quite nice. And yeah, I saw also definite improvement in the destructible environment. But this should not be, priority. Priority should be stuff like fixing the old stuff, implementing new content. For example, specifically for German and certain American tank lines, and also British tank lines. The Russians don't need any further addition. Okay, they have enough vehicles in their attack tree, of enough variety, of enough, you know, capabilities to sustain for the next few patches. To be honest, I don't see any problem, But the British, they don't have a good high tier heavy tank. Come on, the Conqueror is a piece of rubbish. The Chieftain is just beautiful. But like the Leopard, it's just one tank in the tank line. And what about the American medium line? It's totally rubbish. When they are stuck, they are so useless that even a battle rating below that, or even 1.6 battle rating below that, those tanks would have a hard time even being competitive. And the upgrades necessary are a long, long way to go through, which you just can't get because you can't do anything except repeatedly dying. It's really that bad. That's my experience. And also for example, the AAA in the game, the Russian one is really unique. Until this day, it just has too much killing power. Michael Spoon did a really good video about it. It hasn't changed since then, and all three other tank nations don't have very good top tier AAA. They are good against planes, but not against tanks. And while I'm okay with that, it's absolutely game breaking, for me at least, that you can destroy even certain heavy tanks of other nations from the front with the Russian AAA. And the rate of fire is just absolutely stunning for the damage it does. It's like it's like an autoloader, and if you have the side of a tank, he has no chance. And then you have the Russian heavy tank line, which is superior to the German one, indeed, absolutely. And also the Russian medium tanks, they lack nothing except gun depression. Okay, but to lack gun depression isn't a sufficient argument for me to give it any other advantages, in my opinion. The Russians lack nothing, but all other nations lack that thing or that thing or that thing. It's just the imbalance at tier 5 that really drives me away from playing top tier tanks for enjoyment. And also the upgrade costs. Oh my god. Which brings me to probably the last point. And that is the absolute bullshitness of capping of RP and silver lines. Now, silver lines are in tanks, for me personally, not that much of a problem, as you have orders that you can activate. You can shoot bots which bring good amounts of silver lines. You can play a few games in planes, as I did in the guide for how you can earn silver lines. Yeah, it's not the best guide, but it gives you the proper idea. I'm sitting of over 90 million silver lines. I know what I'm talking about. Simple as that. The message is this: the RP costs are practically capped, and it can't be that I just earned 5,500 RP for an exceptional 18 kill match, one bot kill, a cap, winning the game, and even doing a lot of damage to other tanks with a few assists and such, as you could see. And then you have another game where you make like 1 or 2 kills, die, bail out, and you get 1,000 RP for it. It's just capped. At a certain point, the awards you get are capped, and the battle activity time. When you make 18 kills and drive around the map like nuts, and spot the enemy, suppress them, fight with them, receive artillery strikes and whatever, and redistribute artillery strikes, you can't really do much more. It was an exceptional game, yet the reward was not that much impressive. And you have to remember, I won that match and I have a premium account. What do you actually earn for a 10 kill match when you lose and you have no premium account? The grind is horrible. And the only way why I'm so advanced is I played tanks before they were increased in research point costs, and the research point gain was lowered. Yes, they were actually lowered, and then they said that they increased it, but I didn't feel it. But also, when certain tanks were really good, like the British one, when the patch came out, I think I steamrolled through the tech tree in like 2 weeks before Gaijin implemented certain things. It felt like it that accelerated your grind rate, and I had no premium tanks. The only premium tanks that I had was the one at rank 1 and now the rank 3 Iron Duke. That's the only premium tanks I own for the British. Yes, I purchased a talisman on the chieftain, but that's another story. So, I think that was the basic idea that I wanted to give you. The vlog, so to say, took nearly 30 minutes now. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for listening. Please give the video a like. Let me know in the comment section what you think. If you have any additional ideas, with which solution you would come up, and yeah, if you have similar experience, basically. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And that's it for the Duck Talk for this week. Again, thanks for listening, and hope to see you soon on the battlefield.